Hello ladies and gentlemen of SeemsGoodMagic.com. This is Travis Simulants Hours, and we are drafting some magical cards. Let's get these spread out a little bit, get us a preview pane going. So it is battle for Zendikar. We are ready to battle, and what have we got here? Not anything that's like you have to first pick me. A couple things that are like you can first pick me. I'm pretty happy with a Windrider Patrol and a Blue-White Flyers deck. It's unlikely, but possible that Tightening Coils could wheel. It's fairly unlikely that the Angel of Renewal wheels. But for the mana, I think I'd rather have the Scrying than the Life Gain. This is kind of a little mini Dargon, and that certainly does a thing in this format. This isn't like we have to be Blue-White Flyers because we got a Windrider Patrol. It's just, this is probably the best card in the pack. I could see somebody arguing that potentially the Angel is, but I think both of these are the picks over the Tightening Coils. Other than that, it's a relatively weak pack. I don't think I'd take the Ally Encampment super early either. I guess the argument is that that makes it into any deck that plays allies, I suppose, but I'm going to go with the Windrider Patrol. See if we can ride some wind. Can make these cards a little bigger, I think. There's actually some thought to go into this pack. I'm inclined to probably take the Evolving Wilds and try to see what comes around. Catacomb Sifter is certainly a powerful card, and I'm not opposed to being green-black. But it's way more important what you're getting past. So let's say if we were going to say we're forcing the Blue-White Flyers thing, I guess we take a Lithomancer's Focus. That seems pretty bad. We could take a Malakir Familiar and do blue-black non-devoid. That doesn't strike me as a great idea. But like every deck you want to play needs an Evolving Wilds. Am I super happy to second pick it? No. Like there's not a card here I'd want to first pick. So I think I'm just going to take the Wilds, put it in the board, and be happy that we have a little bit of mana fixing for our deck. We can splash something, we can play something, and see what comes around. It's still very early in the draft. Now it's starting to look like cards for the deck that we're interested in are coming together. Ideally, if I take this Coastal Discovery, we can get back maybe the Anticipate, maybe the Smite the Monstrous, and I've even started to like Core Castigator in the Flyers deck. If you get it early, it can poke in for a few points of damage, and sometimes it can just trade for one of their things. Like there's plenty of, for example, just random 3 toughness dudes, and it trades for a lot of 2-drops. So I think I'm going to take the Coastal Discovery, count it as a 6-drop, and kind of see what comes back around. Also keeps us in blue. Like we could easily be some sort of blue-red aggro deck, or well, it's kind of unlikely, but it could happen. I don't have to be Blue-White Flyers. Like here, I'm not super in love with really any of these cards. There's some consideration to the Carrier Thrall. Some consideration even to the Stalwart. Like green blockers, blue flyers could be a pathway to victory. There's again just not like any amazing cards here. I don't mind a Ruin Processor. I don't mind the Carrier Thrall. I just don't feel like blue-black is really a direction I want to go. So what card here has the highest upside for us? We could consider something like a Myers Malice in case we get a Hollowmere Tidecaller. That would be cool. And I do like Myers Malice. I kind of feel like the Tajuru Starwart may be the pick when we've already got a Wilds, like some incentive. I think I'm going to take it here as it's a pretty good blocker, but I'm not going to say, okay, we're green now. I'm just going to say, okay, we have this green card. This is another pack I'd really like to take a blue card out of, but there's not one. Something like the Rot Shambler makes me want to hedge into like a sacrifice deck. We already passed a pretty good card for that. Archetype. Shrink these a little bit. It bothers me when they're not like in order. OCD, I guess. Best card here is probably the Slide Runner. I don't think that really goes in the same direction with either of our other picks, but again, we could be red-green beatdown. It's still way too early to know exactly what's open and what we're doing. I don't hate Swell of Growth, but generally speaking, I don't even know that there is a green-blue deck, but I don't think that wants it. I'll take this and see what comes around. What comes around is an Encircling Fissure, as well as an Outnumber. So what's getting me here is we're seeing good red cards and good white cards, but not good blue cards. So it could be that we should just be in a red-white deck. And maybe splash a Coastal Discovery, maybe not, because that deck's probably going to be a bit more aggro-focused than anything else. If that's what I'm doing, Outnumber probably goes in it. I think I'd rather take a red card here, as red-blue is not something I've done very often, but it doesn't have to be bad. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Outnumber and see where we end up. All right, where we end up is kind of meh. Broodhunter Worm is not my favorite card on the planet, but it can be in a deck. Are we just going like Teamer randos here? We're taking Earthen Arms and hoping we get past Azada. This is a weird draft. And take the Worm. We'll figure out where we're going a little later. Beastmaster says you could probably do something with green. Probably something that involves green tokens. Beastmaster is certainly a powerful effect. Also don't hate Transgress the Mind, but I think we're moving out of those being possibilities. I'll take a Beastmaster and see what happens. And we're starting to see cards for like mediocre black cards. I don't think it's exceptionally likely that we're going to go into those colors, and I'd kind of rather pass them so that our opponents have the knowledge that they can be in black. I'm going to take Seek the Wilds and probably not play it, but we'll see. Sky Leopard isn't a card that I particularly love in draft. It's just worse than a Gnarlid, but I suppose it's at least playable. Like I'm going to put it over here with the Seek the Wilds and not really plan on playing it, but it's a possibility. It's also starting to get possible that we should just try to go green-red beats. Like the Territorial Baloth would give us another big thing, but I actually don't mind the Belligerent Whiptail. It attacks, it blocks, it does things. Oh, this is so close. I'm going to take the Baloth, but I'm not sure. Picking up people for the side. Warpaint for the side. I think it's probable that we just move off of the Windrider Patrol and figure, okay, we're in some sort of green-red beats deck. This is still potentially splashable, because this Stalwart wants us to play another color anyway. It's kind of like this and one of the Mana Elves or something like that makes it fairly easy. So we've got kind of decent-ish creatures, but I suppose we should look at maybe prioritizing 2 and 3 drops, like snapping Gnarlids, that sort of thing, if we're going to continue along this route. Token producers might not be bad. I don't think Volcanic Upheaval's main deckable, but against a landfall, yeah. An Awaken deck, or a deck that's trying to awaken heavily, this could actually be a thing. Well, if we're going to commit to the splash, Skyrider Elf is pretty dang cool. I don't think we can really get Obligate Herder going, as we don't really have the ingesters for that. Why would you stalk Dust? It seems like it'd actually be really easy to catch it. So I'm not quite sure why you'd do that. But maybe we take a Skyrider Elf and then potentially wheel the Call of the Scions or infuse with the Elements and look to do something like this. It'll trigger any additional allies that we get and does make a nice splash card along with our Stalwart. So I think Evolving Wilds just went up a lot in our pick order too. I'm saying that I second picked one. I wouldn't have hated the Invoker either, but I kind of feel like we're going to see another one of those if we want it. Now this pack is a bit weird, and you guys can't see it, but Dutch is kind of sort of sitting in my lap. Can you just get comfortable, buddy? Like find a spot that works for you and isn't shoving your cat butt in my face. There you go, good boy. Is there a world in which I second pick a Broodhunter Worm and am happy with it? No. Does this deck actually want a Tightening Coils? Because maybe red's the splash or just isn't. Yeah. Maybe that's just what we're doing. Okay, maybe we are blue-green. I'll leave it open. Certainly don't want another Scythe Leopard. But like here we've got another Windrider Patrol, a Clutch of Currents, and Eldrazi Sky Spawner. So basically what we're seeing here is, hey, all of the good blue cards you could ever possibly want are right here. Which one would you like? All of them. I'd actually like to take this pack and then stop, because we've also got Eugene's Insight. Eugene is very insightful. Gosh, I don't even know what to pick here, but I'm pretty sure we're heading into an entirely different type of deck based on this pick. We may even wheel one of these. Like, we're almost assuredly getting something we could play back from this pack. God, Ugin's Insight is so busted. But I've got so much high stuff anyway. Oh God, I can't resist. I've only got 8 playables. Oh, I'm a terrible person. I'm not gonna not draw cards. Here I'm probably most interested in this Benthic Infiltrator. It's gonna block for us. If we get another one, we could conceivably play a Processor card. It's a 3-drop, which we're probably going to want anyway. Coral Helm Guide isn't a terrible thought either. Let's make sure we think through this, because we're probably going to see another Tajuru Stalwart. If I pick up another Evolving Wilds, we'll probably be able to turn them on. So, like an unblockable Baloth is a kill condition, and it's a 2-drop against the other aggro decks. Yeah, if we're going to be blue-green, I actually want this guy. I never thought I'd make that pick. But I think that's actually just the right call. Weird. If I had taken the other one, I might have grabbed the Reclaimer here, but I didn't. So that's not really going to do a thing. We could consider splashing a Fire Mantle Mage. It triggers here, 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 and here. Yeah, I think I've somehow gotten into an archetype that isn't actually an archetype. But, sure. Fire Mantle Mage is good. Temur allies go? He said questioningly. Is the Valakut Predator just going to be better? No, I kind of think like forcing through a Baloth or a Broodhunter Worm could be a thing. There's like 1,000,000 Stone Furies. And Smite the Monstresses. Maybe blue-red is where we should be? This is so difficult. And then like splash for the Beastmaster and the Baloth. I should know where I am this late in the draft, and I don't. I'm just completely lost. I think that's the sign of a good format. I could also take the Incubator Drone and just kind of stick to my guns, but like we don't have any interaction with our opponent other than a Tightening Coils. We just have a bunch of dudes. Oh, weird. Rush of Ice doesn't do a whole lot. I can't really afford to take a sideboard card at this point. I'm not in the market for another big drop. Plated Crusher wins games. I don't really know how we're going to cast it. Yeah, I got lost somewhere. There's one more pack of cards to save us. I'm just not in the market for this, but I'm going to take it anyway. I kind of think... Well, then there's another Tightening Coils. I was going to say, I kind of think a Natural Connection might actually be something this deck wants. Let's refocus again. We can splash one of these cards if we want to. Let's just... Alright, classic green-blue flyers. That's what we're doing. It is a classic deck. I'll splash for an Invoker too, if the mana comes together. Sure. Yeah, I knew we'd wheel something from that. I didn't expect it to be the clutch, but that's pretty clutch. Oracle of Dust. Is there any chance I play that? Not really. I don't really want the Oracle of Dust. I could just hack another Slide Runner. Like, we've got a whole separate deck over here in red cards. And I don't think I care if my opponent has an Oracle of Dust. Dispel will take for the board. It's going to be a fun one to read the comments on. because this draft has just been all over the place. So I think if I see another wilds or card like Natural Connection, I probably have to take it. Otherwise, these 3 cards don't get played, and we kind of need them to make playables. But I don't hate what we're doing here. There's a Hedron Archive. That can do a lot for us. We could also consider playing a Complete Disregard. It's not quite as good when you're splashing it. There's also a Grove Rumbler. I mean, that just kills people, and we're looking to splash red anyway. But it feels like with Discovery, Beastmaster, Clutch of Currents, Plated Crusher, and Eugene's Insight, we might just be in the market for this. Well, I guess anything we're going to cast with it, we could probably cast anyway, right? We've got a bunch of 5s, we've got some 6s, we've got some 7s. I'm probably going to play 18 lands. We could also take a Snapping Gnarlid. Like, that's not unreasonable. I think a Giant Mantis would be good. You know what? I'm going to have faith in the Mana Gods. If I have to take a Fertile Thicket or something, we'll take a Fertile Thicket. Oh, and it would be in the same pack with the dang Undergrowth Champion, wouldn't it? Because I really want that Evolving Wilds, but I mean, high. It's like elementally awesome. So we're clearly taking this guy, and really sad about the Evolving Wilds. Maybe I shouldn't have had so much faith in the Mana Gods. Might could play that outnumber too. Why wasn't there one here? Because this would have been a great spot to get one. I've got enough big drops. I think I just need to take an Anticipate to have something to do early, as well as if I don't get any more fixing, this can kind of sort of help be pseudo fixing. Maybe black was the answer. We're seeing good black cards, but I guess I should have gone in on that green-black sack deck. It was difficult to know that at the moment. There's an Unnatural Aggression, which I usually like, but I kind of feel like I need this Natural Connection. It turns on 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, as well as ramping us a little bit. It feels weird to take it over a removal spell, and a removal spell that's probably actually okay in our deck. Like, that probably plays well with the Worms and the Beastmasters and the Plated Crushers. Yeah, I'm going to take it here. We've got enough card draw that I think I can dirtle a little bit. Desolation Twin number, or Broodhunter Worm number 3. I don't think we want that. Another Tightening Coils, like, that starts to get worse when our game plan is to hit them on the ground with this big stuff. But, I mean, this is not ideal, but I'll take it. I don't think Swell of Growth is exactly what we're looking for. Prism Array, probably not. Lifespring Druid, yeah, we'll play you. Okay, this is starting to pseudo look like a deck. Like it might actually be a thing that we could do. Do I want another Invoker? Stretch the mana a little more? Have another guy? I mean, I've been impressed with Valakut Invoker. I guess I can take it. Like I said, we've got a whole red deck over here. It's conceivable we could play a outnumber in this deck. Oh, there's an Oregon Reef Invoker. That's easily just great for us. I'll take that in a heartbeat. And we got a Snapping Gnarlid. I could take that, or I could take a Fertile Thicket. Or we can consider a Giant Mantis for a Flyers deck that's better than ours. But I kind of feel like with the Tightening Coils, especially if we're considering main decking them, that we've probably got enough to deal with the Flyer decks. And I think there's a chance we play the Gnarlid over what? Maybe one of the Broodhunter Worms? Maybe over the Anticipate. I think we're pretty clearly going to play the next Stalwart now that we've got Evolving Wilds, Natural Connection, and a Lifespring Druid. I think that's actually going to be good in the deck. I guess the slow deck we might want a Wavewing Elemental. That seems reasonable. I'm going to have to cut one thing from here, but I think I can do that pretty easily. I don't think our mana is going to be terrible. It's not going to be, like, amazing. It's going to be alright. Sure, all the Broodhunter Worms. This guy's not great, but he's also not terrible. Like, our opponent's going to play giant stuff, and our plan to beat that, I guess, is to Tightening Coils their big thing, and then play a bigger thing? The Beastmaster, this probably isn't the best deck for it. Like, you look at these two, and one is clearly better than the other. We'd also have the Natural Connection trick with the Gnarlid and the Grover, so that could be a thing. This is just not the deck I expected. There's also not any shame in just looking at a build that is way less on the blue. Like, I thought we were blue, but maybe the red cards I have over here are just better. Is that possible? It could be. Well, let's be diligent and decide. So I'll let it get to deck building, and then we'll sort that out. Actually, I kind of think it might be. Like, these Tightening Coils, we could cut those pretty easily. We wouldn't be able to play the Patrol or probably the Yugen's Insight. We could still splash, like, the Skyrider Elf, the Coral Helm Guide. Like, we're over playables here. So maybe the Guide could go. And maybe one of the Broodhunter Worms. Like, this is a very creature-heavy deck, but that's actually not bad. We've still got a decent removal spell in Stone Fury. Bounce spell in Clutch of Currents. Outnumber's probably going to be a kill spell, and we're just, like, trying to run them over with this stuff. Potentially Firemantle Mage is going to get in there for some damage. We can trigger it more with the Stalwarts. Like, the downside is this deck doesn't really have much removal. And by much, I mean any. But it's certainly aggressive. Aggressive for this format, I guess. This deck looks kind of bad. It's weird how you can think you're drafting one color and then realize you're actually drafting something else. So blue gives me access to this. Red gives me access to kind of some mediocre dudes, but 2 Slide Runners is not insignificant. We could even consider taking out, like, the Plated Crusher for the Scythe Leopard, but I like having a big thing, especially when we're already running a Natural Connection. I don't necessarily have to run 18 lands in this configuration, but I probably would anyway. We've got a lot to do with it, and we may need that much to get there, so I'd have to cut, like, a dude, which could probably be one of the Valakut Invokers. I think this may actually be my build. This looks like it can do things. I still like the idea of the Coral Helm God being in there as a way to, like, okay, let's just force through the last bits of damage. But it's certainly something that's interested in Evolving Wilds. I think Undergrowth Champion's absurd. Like, they can't kill it. Well, there's some weird first strike interactions where they can, but it can get out of control pretty quick. Yeah, I think this is just what we have to run. Let's give it a shot. I may side into the blue as opposed to the red, but I feel like this deck has a better shot at actually doing a thing. And I want to do a thing. So I don't think we need that much blue. This would give us 1, 2, 3, 4 blue sources for these cards. So maybe one more. This gives us 6, 7, 8, 9 red sources and 9, 10 green sources. That actually seems fine. It's going to be a little hard to cast the Stone Fury, but I think this will work. All right, an unconventional deck. It is way less synergistic than the decks I'm used to drafting in this format, but who knows? Maybe it'll get us there. I will see you guys for round 1 in just a moment.